I don't know, we're doing a great job.
Sure. Yeah. All right, let's call this meeting to order at 5:30 on September 3rd. Can everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you. So do we have any additions, deletions, amendments, adoptions to the agenda? Do you have anything, Kurt?
Wait, did we get Joe's? We got. Yeah, yeah. Okay, nothing.
We're
We don't
good.
know how we would need to adjust anything when we have an item down here that says other updates.
Other,
Anyway, I move that we approve the agenda.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Community comments. Do we have anyone? No,
Didn't see any on the list.
great. And Sherry. The fun numbers.
There we have a chance to think. Did everybody get the second report that I got to give Amy this month?
Yes, she's got it here too.
Kind of a guessing game at this point on the projections and that we still have some insurance enrollment to get through in that. So the projection sheet, the big one, would probably be different next month. I made the best guesses I could. But we haven't spent all our money yet, so I guess we're in good shape. Are there any questions?
Anyone have any questions about Sherry's guessing?
I just can't wait to see what a great guess it is. It's kind of a game. See how good I guessed. That it?
We're good.
We're good, that was easy. It's too early to question everyone.
Yeah.
Too early for questions.
Hey, administrative reports, Megan Story. Nice to meet you. Welcome to Sisters. We're excited to have you.
Thank you. Good
Welcome
to be
back to
back.
Sisters.
Yeah, welcome back. It's great to be home. Well, the start of our school year over at the elementary school has been wonderful. We had in-service back with our teachers last week and started out a little shaky. We had a lot of teachers who were not in their homes at the time and but we all made it back. We're all together. We really have been focusing on collaboration, relationship building, and just planning for a strong year together. We had our back to school night last Wednesday night. We had an amazing turnout. It was so great to see families reconnect with our school community, to meet families, and to really get to know our community from my perspective. One of the exciting things happening over at Sisters Elementary right now is our growing enrollment. We hit 516 students this week.
Oh.
Yeah, as of today. So yeah, big bump in enrollment from what was expected. So that's been really fun. I think it also just shows the confidence in our school and community, in our community, bringing kids back to school, you know, since the last 5 years. We have new benchmark curriculum that we're rolling out right now. That's our literacy curriculum that we're really excited about. Teachers are getting ready to roll that out. Kindergartners showed up the last couple of days to do their KRA testing, and we're getting our data collected so that we're ready to go with those guys next week. We have a really fun unit coming up next week. We're gonna have our parking lots closed midday for pedestrian and bike safety. Kids will be on bikes, learning how to use helmets. The young ones will be learning pedestrian safety, super fun. And then wanted to let you all know that you'll be invited to a VIP recess at some point here soon. We're gonna start rolling those out again this year, so exciting. So yeah, that's one.
It's a VIP recess.
It's when we have community members, parents, come in and play at recess with students.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, there were 2 last year, I remember right?
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah, we'd like to do a few additional, they were really popular, so,
Great,
yeah,
thank you.
thank you.
I know. Are you thinking?
Yeah.
First one out of the way.
Justin, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us as well. Welcome back.
Yes.
Yes.
Jeez,
Also happy to be back.
it's hard to leave this place apparently.
Yeah, there's a story of, I follow Megan or she follows me, I'm not sure. We taught together at the same time at the middle school and left at the same time, came back at the same time also. Great to be back. The middle school, little update, we had our 6th grade Sister Strong Day, we called that yesterday for our 6th graders coming back and giving them a day with just them in the building so they can get used to where they're going and their classes, meet their teachers, and then do some team building and relational connection time. So Mrs. Fuentes and Mr. Dart did a great job organizing that, running that. So lots of smiles from kids, lots of parents saying that their kids are tired at the end of the day, so it felt good about that first day. Later, or last night, we had our barbecue and open house, so I invited all of our families to come at 4 o'clock and have barbecue and just hang out, and then shared a little bit from my perspective of some things at the middle school that we're gonna kind of focus on, and that idea of our job of instruction is going to be obviously a key topic of what we do, and then building our culture, making sure everybody that walks through our door feels safe, feels welcome, no matter what their background or who they are, where they're coming from. We want them to feel safe and welcome. And then just communication, just talking about that with parents, that it's important that we communicate what's going on. They feel like they know. It's a tricky balance to give enough information, but not bombard families with information. So shared a little about that. And then actually Megan and I worked together last year and last 4 years in Redmond, been doing a lot with social media and smartphones. So I talked quite a bit. I kind of talked about getting on my soapbox and for a bit, and talked about smartphones and social media and kind of the impact of that, and really that idea of seeing anxiety and depression in kids, and some of the tough things that we see coming out in our young people, and we now know different. So how can we do different? And shared some resources with families, shared some ideas on how to do this together and open a conversation. We know that try to not be in a place of telling people how to parent, but being in a place of saying, here's a conversation you should have with your kids. Smartphones aren't going away. So how do you kind of work through that together as a family? So shared a bunch of that. And then from there, we had all of our kids back today. So it's great to have all of our 6th through 8th graders. Great start. I'm looking forward to getting to know kids. One of the big reasons I came back was the smaller school and just the community support. And so looking forward to connecting with our families and kids. And then some upcoming events, you're always welcome. We have a assembly this Friday, a welcome back assembly that will share our sports teams and do a little intro, welcome the kids back to the building officially. And then at the end of the month on the 26th, we'll have our folk festival assembly. So love to have anybody that wants to come by for that. So excited to be back in middle school.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Yeah. Let's get started.
All right, so
Hey, welcome back.
yeah, I'd just like to
Just need to say that.
recognize myself as a senior. We've up and running. We had a lot of the similar things. We had our 9th graders on campus yesterday, and we have a what we call a Connect Crew, which is a kind of a healthy mix of kids that just want to be part of that, but also some of our student leadership kids, our ASG kids, and had a great day, and they were able to run through a mock schedule, and then off and running today. The part that I was going to share was a little bit about our in-service week. So we don't try to do a ton with teachers during in-service week, just because the bandwidth is really focused on them gearing up for the year. But we do each year try to give them something to think about that will kind of temper how they approach the year, and just, to have them pause and think for a minute about some things that, are kind of moving up on the radar in our world. And this year we kind of focused a little bit on artificial intelligence and how that's impacting education as a whole. And so we just had these 3 prompts that we kind of ran them through. They kind of worked in small groups, and then we were able to share out as a staff. So the first one there, as an education professional, how has AI shown up in your practice up until now? So just trying to get a sense of where the staff is at in terms of like, you know, has it only shown up in, you know, trying to figure out if students are using it, or have you started to use it as a planning tool and to work more efficiently, that kind of thing. And then what are the barriers or challenges you believe AI presents as an increasingly present reality for education? And so they kind of ran through those different constituencies there, students and staff, and then also as far as how we, how we present content and what our standards are. And then finally, what changes, if any, are you making to your approach this year in light of AI? And so just kind of trying to get my finger on the pulse to a degree, but also have the teachers just have a sense of awareness that like across our staff, everyone's in different places and everyone has different dispositions as it relates to how they're going to encounter this new reality. And then kind of the follow-up for this is we're doing a little bit of a pivot in terms of how we use some of our Friday time this year. We're doing a leaner version of our grade level teams, so those will happen a little bit more robustly when they happen, but less frequent. And we're using some of the Fridays that we would have perhaps used for those meetings to also now do some PLC work with our teams. And we're going to have a kind of a menu of topics that the PLC teams can choose from, but I sort of prep them for the possibility that they should know that this will probably be at least be one of the topics on the menu that and so our hope is that throughout this year, we have a group of our staff members that are digging in and talking about how that's from the lens of, you know, how it can be used by educational professionals to improve and be more efficient and to serve students better. And then also kind of that lens of not per se, you know, slamming on the brakes, but at least pumping the brakes to say, you know, let's not just have a wholesale takeover here. We got to kind of curate this opportunity and evaluate the kind of the benefits and the risks that come along with it. So we're excited about that. And on a open house front, ours is next Monday, so feel free to come out to that. We'll kick off as we do in the auditorium. There'll be 15 or 20 minutes of me and the counselors just addressing families. Ours tends to kind of be a little bit more of the newer families. So new to the building in 9th grade, that's kind of who tends to really be the critical mass for us. But then afterwards, we give an opportunity for families to be out and kind of run through a mini schedule what the kids are having this first term. So what questions do you have for me? That you don't need to happen.
We should invite them to the Friday tailgate.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're doing a little barbecue this Friday at the football game. So I think we're gonna try to serve, like, you feel free to come and mingle 6:30. I think we'll try to have the food coming off the grill by 6:30. And that'll be staff and families, but obviously you're welcome.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And welcome back. Lorna?
Hello, good evening.
Hi.
I'm Lauren Van Geem. I'm the Director of Student Services, so it's nice to see some fresh faces. And we are here tonight to talk about our comprehensive school counseling program and 2 national awards that we actually just recently received over the summer. Yes, thank you. It kind of starts with a little story. So this is my 5th year in the district as the Director of Student Services. And I clearly remember on interview day, one of the pieces of the interview was I got handed basically the comprehensive school counseling plan. And it basically said, the question was, what are you going to do about this? It was outdated, it needed a lot of work, a lot of systems needed to be built. So I am proud to say it took me 4 years, 5 years. But today, you're gonna see what I actually did about it.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so good evening. My name is Kelsey Jacob, and I am a previous school counselor for Sister School District. So I am among the many where it is really hard to leave. This is a very special place, and I feel very honored to be here. So thank you for this platform tonight. I'm very passionate about school counseling, and so I will try very hard not to be too verbose about it, and I really look forward to questions if you have them. But yeah, so our profession as school counselors is really driven by the American School Counselor Association, also known as ASCA, and they created the framework that really drives the work that we do in the day-to-day in our buildings. And so there are 4 main components to the ASCA model. And you can see that here in this diamond. And so it starts with define. So our programming is driven by student standards and professional standards and competencies and ethics that we have as school counselors. And that drives how we manage our program. So the actual organization aspect, the lesson planning that we do, and then the delivery of our service. And that's through direct service, so classroom lessons and small groups and things like that. And then indirect, a lot of consultation and collaboration with our fellow educators and parents. And then once we've done all of that, we assess our program regularly. And that's a major component. And so comprehensive school counseling programs are very alive and they shift and they're very responsive to the changing needs of our students and staff year to year. And so comprehensive programs are multi-domain and multi-tiered, and Kate will go into the multi-tiered part, but the domains are academic, social, emotional, and college career. And so really looking at the whole child from different aspects. Yeah, okay. I'm just,
Yes. All right, so as school counselors, we have a multi-tiered support system in place, in terms of the programs we provide in our schools, similar to a lot of other things in schools. We have lots of tiers for many things. But here it represents what those tiers might be. We have our tier 1, and this is something for all students. So school counselors, we help support all students in our schools, not just some or few, but all of them. And this is done through classroom lessons and school-wide programming. We use data to help inform what those are going to look like, lessons we teach, the standards we need to touch on. And then we have our tier 2, and this is interventions for some students. So this would be students where we identify that they need a little bit more support. So this could be in small groups, it could be in individual counseling. It's not for all students, but it's for those who we identify through our data. And then we have our tier 3, and this is those services for even less students that we identify once again through different types of data. And so this could be like a crisis response situation, but it's also identifying and referring students to other types of supports that maybe within our school are not accessible for students, or processes within our school to get those students those supports that they might need for academics, social, emotional types of supports. And then at the top there, you see we have our belong, prepare, and inspire. And our 3 domains are social, emotional, academic, and career and college, which aligns so great with our mission vision as a district. Our belong goes with our social, emotional, our prepare goes with our academic, and then our inspire goes along with our career and college readiness. So we've done a lot of work through this grant process, which I know we presented to you guys last year sometime. And so we just wanted to show you some of the data that we used in our ramp process. There was many pieces that we had to provide to become ramp certified. And a big piece of that was looking at our data and how we're using that to help support our students. So this is some data from the elementary school. This is outcome data, which looks at either academic, behavioral, or attendance data, and you're trying to make an impact in one of those. So the elementary school, we identified that we had some high behaviors in a certain grade level, use that information to help direct the services. So that included some very intentional lessons in that grade level, some small group work with some of those kids. And you can see that there was a big decrease in some of our behavioral, or our discipline referrals with that group of kids.
All right, and so part of that ramp process and the data is we look at small group lesson plans and then closing the gap. And so, like Kate was saying, with data informed decision making, we're looking at what students in our building are not quite being served by the system yet. And so these two slides that you're seeing are just snapshots from that ramp application that Kate and I each did. And so this is the tier 1 classroom instruction that I did. So this is from the lesson plans that I had submitted for the ramp application. And specifically, it was under that prepare and inspire mission for the district, where I was helping the 8th grade students use a 4-year plan for academic planning with their forecasting going to high school, and for college and career exploration. And so this is not outcome data, it's actually pre-post data from the student standards that are known as mindsets and behaviors. And so the blue is the pre and the orange is the post. And then the very bottom is the 3 objectives that I wrote based on 3 of the mindsets and behaviors. Well, actually 2 of the mindsets and behaviors that you can see up top. So mindset, understanding that post-secondary education and lifelong learning are necessary for long-term success. And then the behavior learning strategy, that long and short-term goal, or short-term academic, career, and social emotional goals. Just learning how to do those.
So just to put this into perspective, the RAMP award is a national award, so you can actually break that down by state. And just within the state of Oregon, there are 197 public school districts, and there are only 12 out of the 197 that are actually RAMP certified. That's the level of difficulty that it takes to actually become RAMP certified. So we're just super proud of that. If you look really closely, you'll also notice that the majority of the RAMP schools in Oregon are Central Oregon schools. And there were, let's see how many, 1, 2, 3, 4. There were 6 new schools that were added, and all 6 of them were from Central Oregon this summer in Long Beach. So yeah, pretty exciting.
What do you attribute that to? Why is Central Oregon
We-
leading the way?
Well, funny that you
I'm
asked that.
glad you asked that. I
Yeah.
was just about to jump in and talk about the
Yeah.
training. Yeah.
So we talk a lot about the High Desert ESD and our local service plan. And part of the local service plan is some mental health supports. And we actually got a grant that Jim Bowen helped us with, who is the director of mental health for our region. And he, Jim and I worked together in Ben Lapine, and we both had a shared interest around just becoming RAMP certified. And Kelsey was actually a part of that in Ben Lapine. And so really, I think the 3 of us had generated enough interest that when Jim Bowen moved into the position, he went back and reached out to his ASCA contact, who helped Ben Lapine kind of get through the process. And he did a regional program for Redmond, us, and Ben Lapine. Yeah, so that's the result basically of the grant through the High Desert ESD. It was 3 years worth of work of training and meeting and looking at data and walking us through the whole process. Yeah, so it's directly related to the support of the High Desert ESD and the grant that we received.
And I would tack on Lorna's support and our administrator support, because it required us to be out of the building for a full day, 3 times during 3 or 4 during the school year, which is a huge absence for schools to have a counselor out for the whole day. And so both Lorna's support and helping advocate even with our administrators about the importance of this, and then our admin being supportive is also a huge part of why we felt like we were able to do this. Kate and I also met on Fridays, and our board, of course, yes, of course.
So we would receive the training as a regional cohort, but then we would have to come back to our district and implement all of the pieces that we learned that needed to be implemented. So it was kind of 2 parts. It was like receiving the training and then actually implementing the changes. And it's hard once the school year gets going to actually find the time to implement the changes. But yeah, within the 3 years, we got it done. Yeah.
So amazing.
So this was kind of fun. This was the first time that any of us had ever been to the ASCA conference. And one of the breakout sessions, I was pleasantly surprised at how high caliber the sessions were. So I attended one of the breakout sessions was how to engage in parents who are of like the TikTok and YouTube generation. And it was how to create content for them that they're familiar with, that they can engage with, that will bring them into part of your community. So it was basically how to reach those younger parents who are just used to a different type of content. So I took everything I learned in the session. So this is my attempt. Yeah, here we go. So this is us receiving our RAMP award. Oops. What happened there, Todd?
I'll click.
Oh, you had a quick play. We have a couple more slides. If I can go. Yeah, so questions or next steps? I'd like to just kind of start with the next steps. We have Brooke Jackson, who are our current middle school counselor. And once you receive a RAMP award, it is good for approximately 5 years. So our next steps, our goals are, we would like to kind of loop in the high school and see if we can get a triple RAMP award in our district before the middle school and the elementary school RAMP certification expires. And if we could do that, we would be the only district in the United States who has every school RAMP certified. So
That's huge.
yeah, so we're working on some things to make that happen, and it'll be pretty exciting.
Very nice. That's amazing.
Yeah. You guys have any other questions?
Given that it is good for 5 years, but you'll need to reapply, what are you doing now to make sure you can have that recertification in 5 years?
Continuing the work, using the tools that we've been using over the last few years to get ready to apply for RAMP. I think that we had a lot of the pieces already existing in our counseling programs. It was a matter of the details of how you have to submit it for RAMP. So I think it'll be doable for us to continue, and then when it comes time to reapply, it's taking all of that and putting it back into the application process.
The other challenge will be, having been there, is that I think, what is this, the 4th or 5th version of the ASCA model? So every so often they bring out an updated version, so you have to apply under those new standards. So I know that was a part of the process in this transition. So it depends on whether, is it ASCA 5, whatever the new model, comes out, that they would have to apply under. So it might slightly change some of the work as they go. And they'd have to adjust to that as the new standards were developed.
How often do those new standards get revised?
And I think it's not, well, you guys can jump in, but it didn't seem like it was on a clear, like every 5 years it rotates. It's like, it's like when they think it's time, they change it.
Fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the first edition was 2003, so
Yeah.
we're on our 5th one now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I will say, there were some breakout sessions at the conference for the 5th edition, and both Kate and I bought the 5th edition book to see the differences. And I will say that it's more, it's simplified. I mean,
Okay.
the key pieces of the data driven.
Yeah.
The domains that the framework of the define and manage and assess, all of those key pieces are there. The competencies are there. But the application process itself, the forms I've even looked at are much more simplified. They have drop boxes now instead of having to type it all in. which is really nice, actually, when it comes to the standards. So those pieces, I think, will help facilitate the application.
Will there be different metrics that you need to have data for? Do you expect, or do you think they'll probably generally remain the same?
I feel like they've changed, how they look at data a little bit.
Mm.
And so those are things we'll have to become familiar with in terms of what that looks like for us and when we do apply. I mean, it's similar, but it's different in terms of the application.
And I think that part of the transition process is the application for ramp this coming fall is still with fourth edition forms. And so even though fifth edition forms are accessible, it's a weird, so it'll take time for the ramp application fifth edition to be accessible and available to know exactly how to apply.
So it sounds like this was paid for by grant funding, is that correct?
Well, the training,
Okay.
the training was
Does the certification itself cost, like applying and doing all of that? So.
yes, it did.
Okay.
Yes, yes. And that was unexpected.
Yeah,
Yeah, we weren't quite prepared for that, but we were able to recover enough funding to apply.
so do you have a plan if you wanna apply? I mean, is it significant? I know, so experience, there's like, sometimes the work is already happening and we're looking at a certification to kind of acknowledge that our program is exceptional, right? Like, and that's one thing. Another thing is you use a tool like this to change the work that we're doing to get better, and it sounds like that happened with this, like you changed those programs to exceed in that. Do you see that continuing and that the funding would help you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the systems that we have created, I mean, if you look at it in the broader sense, it's really just the cycle of improvement. So every year you're coming in, it's kind of those habits that you're creating. You're coming in as a counselor, you're looking at the data. What is the data telling you? How am I going to create interventions to mitigate what the data is telling you? And then you circle back around, did it work? And just rinse and repeat. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would equate it to, before dual college credit was around, it was mainly just advanced placement, right? And so kids would take advanced placement classes and they go, well, I'm not gonna pay to take the test. Well, why, you took the class and you think you did well in it, why wouldn't you take the pay to take the test to show that you got that you acknowledge the achievement? And I think this is a very similar process that even though we were doing the work, this also helped guide the work, and it's kind of nice to be able to pay to apply and have them evaluate and say, yeah, you did the work well enough to consume it.
But also we can look at the end, like, the data that we can measure, which is graduation rate would be, like a good example. So graduation rate, we have to have students who are successful. And really, the counseling program is at the heart of students being regulated enough to learn so that then they can excel. So when we look at all of the numbers, all of our great numbers at the tail end, really, a lot of it you can contribute back down to, we have a really strong comprehensive counseling team.
Did you try to do the high school at the same time, or did you just wait on that?
Well, it's a big process,
Right,
and it's complicated. And also I did not put the expectation on the counselors of, we're gonna go through this training and you have to apply for ramp. It was more of a, let's go through this and let's learn the systems that we can, implement, the changes that we can make. And then if you feel ready, then let's do it. So, and it was a pretty hard process. So, and it's helpful to have a couple schools go through it and then know what we need to change and the places that are our pinch points and be able to maybe guide the high school through that as well.
I think it also equated to, like Steve sat before us a few years ago doing the high school accreditation process, and it's a lot of work. But there's a reason it happens every so many years, because it's a lot of work. Some of it pays off, some of it's just an affirmation, but it's a lot of work to document the affirmation of what you're doing. So I think there's a lot of these that are very similar in that capacity. And I think what turned into, at least what I remember in the story and the journey, was we had two schools that really got into it and wanted to apply. The high school was doing the work, but it it wasn't a mandate to apply, right? So now we think we're gonna give that a little stronger nudge.
I would
Get it
agree.
there.
I think the level and the amount of work that it took to get ramp certified to earning a PhD.
Wow.
I mean, that's about the level of work, earning your PhD, writing a thesis paper and submitting it is, to me, it's about the same. Yeah,
It was
That is a
intense.
lot of fun.
yeah.
Wow.
Okay, how can we help you?
Continue to support the counseling program.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're amazing.
Appreciate it.
Truly amazing.
Yeah, congratulations on both awards.
Yeah,
you.
congratulations.
Yes.
Oh,
You gonna show them?
Yeah, let's start over here and pass it down the line.
Can I get you guys to, those out? Yes.
nice. Well, now we know where the money went.
Yeah, you can add.
Oh, can you?
Oh, excellent.
They can.
Oh,
Brooke and I went to the same program, we graduated together in our master's.
Oh.
bravo.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you.
Joe, integrated grant, what award did we win?
I was just thinking, we did the design thinking with Stanford last year,
Yeah,
and they called me up. It was ended in August. They called me in September. They said, "Hey, you have it completed." I didn't finish my last one, but I finished it as far as I wanted to finish it. And they said, "Well, you didn't finish it, you didn't pass it, so you're not gonna get the certificate." I said, "That's okay, I got what I wanted out of it." So they called in October. They said, "We're keeping it open for you if you want to finish." And I said, "Yeah, the certificate's not that important to me." And then he said, "Well, actually, I get credit for you finishing."
Oh.
I said, "Okay, I'll finish." But listening to those guys, I probably would have adjusted my presentation. My presentation is a little informational because we have new folks here. I wanted to explain what an integrated program is. But listening, the accounting program is part of our district strategic plan, as well as it's part of our integrated grant plan. But when you look at it, it's a small piece. So you can see how much it takes to build a program. She's probably going over and above that what was expected when we wrote the grant, but it's just a giant undertaking. Same thing with improving our literacy. Each one is a giant undertaking. And so my thought today is, since my presentation is done, I still have to stick with what I have done. So if you could just take one, this is more detail that's on the PowerPoint. And I'm gonna go through this fairly quickly, but trying to bring everybody up to speed of what integrated programs is. It's evolved a little bit. We're in our actual third year, fourth year of the process, because the first year was learning and doing community outreach. What was happening is that Oregon was going with a la carte, that you would have to, that they weren't giving one full funding per student. It was basically, well, if you want funding to help you with literacy, here's this. If you want something with high school success, here's this. And so we had to apply for all these different grants in order to get money, which was
and the applications were enormous, right? The SIA grant was like 22 pages, like the high school success grant was 18 pages. I mean, they weren't easy, fill out, get the grant. They were pretty massive.
And now we just have one massive one.
Yes,
Well,
yeah.
They still haven't brought early lit. Anyway, it going through the process a little bit, it has improved. They brought it together and integrated programs, it's improved. And so it's those the integrated, you'll see the second green, and those are all the programs there. And each one in itself is a bit of a monster. And then through that, we develop goals. And one thing, as I was listening and thinking and reflecting myself, today's presentation is more of a reflection of everything that you have heard from last year. We have to do an annual report, and because the budget ends in, well, we have to end in September, we spend everything. So Sherry and I get together, have we spent everything? Do we have any extra money? And then that's part of it. And then they ask you to do some reflection. For those of you that were here last year, I gave you a little bit of a different reflection. It was more on a letter of saying, and we'll get to that. That's at the end.
But,
And
but
so-
to, but to be clear, so those 9 things that are listed under the inline programs, those were all grants that we used to have to individually write a report on. And now it's supposed to be integrated, and it's getting better, but it's still one massive report instead of a bunch of big reports.
And we took it on. Sometimes we're minimally compliant. And then sometimes we look at the value and we originally looked at the value and we were, and it was kind of integrated in our strategic plan. And one thing I'll give credit to our district and Kurt's leadership is that our goals are aligned. And I think you can use this throughout the year to see probably around the holidays, after the holidays, you'll hear the principals talk about different data. Probably elementary school talk a little bit more about literacy. They'll have multiple presentations, but that's what this is about. And so that's aligned to this. I think Kurt's goals are aligned to this. Building goals are aligned to this. And then our district, so the integrated and our district goals are fairly aligned. And it makes things pretty easy. And I can feel the connectedness just listening right now. So it's kind of cool for me being part of it for quite some time. So there's a brief this is really a summary of our district goals. And then the progress report, we have to basically reflect on the data. And so you'll hear, last year we presented about the literacy. And you'll notice in middle school actually doesn't have, they don't have any specific standardized tests that we have to look at. That's going to change in 2 years. I don't know if I told you that yet, but I just saw that they're going to be required to do math in 2 years. But regardless, though, when you look at the high school is all of us. And I think that Kurt did a nice job of explaining that we as a district need to celebrate our graduation rate. And to some capacity, I think that we're in alignment, Steve and I and Kurt in alignment of that. Sometimes the 5th year is more important to us than the 4, because we realize that students learn differently. And so some students don't want to grind it out in the way that the traditional way is. And so they need to take 5th years. We really celebrate the 5-year completer rate. So you'll see in middle school that I added in a 9th grade point because they're really setting up. That's the big thing for middle school, is to set up to prepare, be able to communicate well, reading and writing, communicate well, and have the academic skills to be ready for 9th grade. Statistically, if you pass all your classes in 9th grade, it's been a long time since Chicago, but it's a high probability of graduation. And so we gave credit, or I did, just because I was trying to give in bullets to middle school, credit for that 9th grade on track, and then the high school outcomes. And let me see, I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm not using my PowerPoint. So that's the alignment that I was talking about. Our district goals. And then talked about the elementary. These are the pictures that they took. The elementary schools, it has a huge focus on literacy. That's the 2 you'll hear us talk about, the early literacy grant. We'll do a couple of presentations this year on that. That's, while it's in the same system that we have to navigate and report, it's completely different. So
But there's a strong correlation between 3rd grade and 5th grade at and above in literacy and graduation and correlation graduation rate. So it stacks on each other.
yeah, but I'm talking about the actual reporting.
Yes.
The reporting is different, so you might hear us just talk about early literacy and then integrated grant, there's integrated programs. And so then I just spoke about the middle school and the strengths of the middle school, and then our Moffitt group.
I haven't heard the end of why we didn't have t-shirts at the high school, so. I'm working on
We're-
it.
we're-
Steve, I done
I love it, yeah.
And he's not bitter about it at all.
And so then you'll scroll down to the on the paper, the key strategies, you heard of strengthening your counseling. A lot of the funds go into, and here's the key strategy, you can. Nope, that's the data. Here's the strategies, and those that were here at the end of the year, you probably saw this. You approved, this is last year's budget that you approved last October, but very, very similar is what you approved in May for the next 2 years. These are our key strategies. Most of it goes towards funding staff. And then I threw this in there. It's so big, you're not supposed to do this. It's really bad use of PowerPoint, but I wanted to show you that I'm actually looking at the data that's in the system on here, because sometimes when you're a scientist, you get to manipulate the data however you want, and you get to explain it however you want. But so I put that in there for you to view at a later time at your leisure. But that's really the summary. And then they asked at the end, for those that were here this time last year, what barriers and challenges are you seeing? And I didn't really change much, but I didn't want to give that to you because again, make me sound like a huge whiner. I just summarized it for you there, and those are some of the systems. So you can read those and I can explain them if you'd like to a degree, but that's I just want to let you know what I summarized, and I'm submitting in a few weeks. Today, there's no action required. I'm just required to present this information to you.
It's gotta be on our board agenda
Got it.
as per the requirements of the integrated program.
So my hope with this is for you to keep this, and this is just, you'll just be able to reference it, and hopefully I set this up that it's more of a reference, and you should see us talking about this stuff and reference it throughout the year.
Wonderful.
Okay?
Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, I guess I need
We gotta.
Yeah.
This is a good news day, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I love all this. It's I don't know what we're doing here. Kurt,
We'll
You
keep
ready?
going with some good news. We know that last year one of our challenges was not only the hit on PERS roll up cost, but also looked like we hit a little blip with some declining enrollment. And right now, it looks like we're up. Now, I say that a little apprehensively because until the 10-day drop window closes, that's not 100% accurate. We had conversations earlier where, third grade is a pinch point we're looking at because it's not big enough to hire a fourth teacher, but big enough where it's getting a little crowded. And so what does that look like? We think we're actually going to lose, the word is from one family, we're losing 2 third graders. So we'll actually get some relief in that grade level, which is not untypical walking around with folks. I think most of our kids showed up, especially at the elementary. I think talked to a couple of teachers and they said most of them had everyone. One couple, there was one kid maybe gone. So until we actually see whether they show up, and we're not going to 10-day drop them or we get a records request, kind of will dictate that. So we're excited about that. I'm not sure if we'll stick above. Well, I don't anticipate that we'll stick above 1,200 as a district. I think the elementary will stay above 500. I think the middle school's up a little bit and the high school's right about where we thought it would be. So if those numbers stick, we're still where we need to be, which is good news. That's exciting. This summer was, I think, different for all of us. Last year we were ramping up for a big move and finishing construction and doing a lot of work on the elementary, and we still did a lot of work. It was just different work. We did little things like replaced our pump system, replaced boilers at the middle school, fixed the chiller at the high school. Is that working, by the way? I have
It seems to have kicked in today.
Okay, good. So We did got the greenhouse up at the elementary school. Had to reseed the entire field and do that work and couldn't do that until the pump was fixed. So we did a lot of the other smaller maintenance stuff. We still do have some windows to check off at the elementary school that we're still out of the, I think we had 53 replaced. I think there's still 3 or 4 that are identified that need to get fixed. So we're still working on some of the punch list items. We're hoping that the grass grows enough by the end of September that we can get the snow fencing down and, have access to the field. It is in much better shape than it was last spring, but after we played on it last spring, it was in pretty bad shape. So we're trying to make sure that we don't have to start all over again this next spring. I think we'll have to do some probably overseeding over, whether we do it over spring break with our 2-week spring break, or we wait until the summer again. I think we have 1 more year of overseeding, and then we'll be looking at pretty good infill and root stability and be able to not worry about it. So it is the challenge in a when you plant versus bringing sod in Central Oregon with the short growing season. So we're working through those issues. Sidewalk on the backside of the stadium so that we don't have to cross traffic if kids are on the other side of the entry there. Looking at, we still have a little bit of a bottleneck for about 10 minutes, it looked like this morning with drop off at elementary, but I think people have figured those systems out. We fenced the backside of the playground for the elementary school, so that walk through between the middle school and it can be open without worrying about kids escaping or people that we don't want in getting in. So we did put a gate that's locked from as a cross through into the stadium, so they have easy access. So just some small improvements as we work through, opening a new school and discovering what things we might want to do a little differently. Well, most of it's working really well as far as the programming is concerned. It was amazing. I think with the move in, walking through the building looks better this year than it did last year. Just we don't have scratches on the floor. It's polished. It really looks nice. It's actually all 3 of our buildings look really well. Our custodial staff did a great job over the summer. So part of that is we're not trying to move an entire school and have all of us do that. So it was really, really good summer, different summer, productive. So that was nice. We're still working on district assets. We finally did get a surveyor. You see, we have some stakes up outside here for the district office. They discovered there's no pins. So we have to have them come in and pin the property. So they surveyed it, no pins. We're also doing the old bus barn, the old transportation center, that piece that's the Park and Rec is not using. We're gonna have that surveyed as well. So working through those things, it's gone slow. Hoping to have something back from the architect soon. We're signing, our lease starts with Park and Rec on the Coalfield Center in October. We were anticipating being able to start doing work in there, but the plans haven't come as quickly as we want. So still moving forward with those things to unify, consolidate the campus. That's slow work. It'll be good work once we get done and we're all in one place. Let's see. I think that's the district. That's this update. I don't really have any other updates than just to say, I think you will start seeing, you will start seeing from my goals that you'll want to approve hopefully later tonight with the work that happens and is presented. The whole idea is that there's no guess that we're doing the work that we said we're out to do, right? It should be presented to you. We should talk about it. It should come up in these meetings as well as at the building level. People know belong to Inspire. They know what those things mean, how we're supporting kids around them. Probably the most nebulous is Inspire, because I think our adult conversation about Inspire is different than what the kids. When we talked to the kids, it was, well, I just really like how into the content my teacher is, right? Well, that doesn't come across in some of the Inspire goals, but it does have them see past and beyond what their high school or middle school trajectory or elementary school path is. So it's a little different at each level, but when we did that work, it's resonated well, and so we've doubled down with the community feedback. We are adding a math goal, in this next 5-year window. Joe talked about 8th grade math coming on board as one of those evaluation measures, so we're looking at re-engaging with teacher development group, which is a group that does really kind of hands-on math PD, professional development for staff. We're looking at re-articulating to, you know, a target of potentially algebra for all 8th graders and what that could look like as a district. So when you chew off lofty goals, it takes a process to get us there. So we're gonna work through that. The goal is not to have that done next year. The goal is to have it done by the end of the 5-year period. So I'll leave my report there. I mean, you heard a lot of other stuff tonight, a lot of great stuff that's happening, so I'll stop there unless there's, any questions, things that I didn't cover that you had questions on.
Anyone have any questions? Any changes with the property? Without the well, the wellness property?
Oh, Cloverdale, no, still, not, again, about the same status as everything else, moving slowly, so, but no, nothing new.
And nothing was damaged from the fire.
Yeah, I think that's, I guess the last piece that I'd say is the last 2 weeks have been really, have the privilege of being invited into some of the conversations around the work that was done. And it really read about it today in the paper and knew about it ahead of time, but really, amazing work that not only our local folks did, but, ODF Team 3 and the Red Team, when they came in to help support the governor, declaring the qualification as early as she did, so units from all over the state could come and help. I mean, they had 9 units on the structures up on White's Canyon, around the homes while the fire was coming up. They had 4 aircraft up and retardant on the ridge line, and then firefighters down in the canyon actually fighting the fire with the other team. So it really is amazing that it didn't leak over more than it did, and that between there and out homes, I think it was only 4 and 1 damaged. I think it might be now a total of 5 homes, residents, not structures, but residents that were lost in the process. And they wouldn't affirm or deny, but my understanding, again, because our work to try to support our families, was that they weren't school-age families in those incidents. And then we got the good news last Friday when we were getting ready to maybe alter bus routes and figure out what's happening this week, that they lifted the level 3s and sent people back to the home. So really, really great work. Scary that it was as close to us as it was, and impacted the community, but very thankful for the work that happened. Really interested in the dialogue. It's really interesting, I think, as an observer, thinking about, I know people who live up there and almost getting emotional and listening to the way they talk about fire behavior, the way they talk about how they attack something. And not that they don't care, because their life safety and saving property are their mission. But it's really tactical in the way they talk about it. And it was really impressive. So thankful for the fire folks at every level that came and supported the community, because we're in a much better place.
This could be a
Then
very
we-
different meeting.
than we could have. Yeah, so very excited about that, and that it looks like they're disbanding many of the groups and sending them, because we're it's not done, not gone, but in
Close.
control. I'll leave it at that.
Anyone have any questions for Kurt? Okay, I guess we'll go right into board business. We have 2 policies to adopt. One is on the cell phone personal electronic devices, and the other one is an exemption. I think
The
everyone,
administrative rule, yeah, the form too.
yes. Does anyone have any?
I move that we approve those 2 policies.
All in favor?
Fine.
Aye.
That was quite easy. Superintendent goals, we all have a copy of that as well. We did go over this before.
And we went over these in work session. Still open to feedback, waited in the period, I didn't get a lot of feedback, they're very similar, they're aligned to our goals, they're very similar to what they have been in the past. We've had success focusing on those issues, as far as the district and our student achievement and how we're supporting kids, so. I really didn't see a reason to redraft them. There's some differences, like we're not managing the bond, we're looking at other things, so there are some changes from those goals, as far as some of the asset evaluation and execution of the bond, so that's, pretty much done now. And now it's, the next phases, which are looking at, consolidating the campus and what that looks like moving forward.
Great. Anyone have anything to add, subtract, or move forward on the superintendent goals? Somebody want to make a motion? Oh, we did? No, for the superintendent, we have to approve this, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I move that we approve the superintendent's goals. This guy's kind of got it dialed in.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Okay, consent agenda, regular board meeting minutes.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
All in,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Let's see, and board work session minutes, I guess we could have done those together, and a new hire. For the Sisters Elementary School teacher, and then, so I should have just read them all, I apologize. And then adoption of this consent agenda, which you've already done, but for the other three items, can we have a motion?
A second that.
No, and somebody has to first.
I think we already did that.
I didn't.
We approved the consent agenda.
Okay, great. Does that
I
work?
think we're done.
Great.
I will say, I think it's Megan and Justin are new to Central Oregon, so I'll let you know, first grade teacher, we lost a teacher who family had to move last minute. And 2 weeks before school starts, the job had 35 people apply for the position. So
Wow.
I think it's it's a good place, we're supportive. It speaks to people knew who the new leadership was coming in. So it's just was actually amazed when I checked in with Tracy, I'm like, okay, I was thinking we had double digits, I was gonna feel happy, and she said we had 35, so, and people, actually, I think when I asked her, we had 30, and we still, within the time that they were starting to think about interviewing, we had 5 more come in, so they decided to screen those as well, and then just remove the listing, so we didn't have any more issues, so, I think, it's a testament to the work that all of our folks are doing in the district, that people want to come and work here. So I felt fortunate.
That's great.
That's such a late transition of a staff member to have such a big pool to choose from.
Awesome. Okay, quick announcement, September 3rd, which is today, board work session, plus or minus 3 minutes ago. October 1st, regular board meeting at 5:30 p.m. If there's no other business. Anyone have any last minute things? Great, let's adjourn at 6:34. And give it 2 minutes and start if that works for